Hello, everyone. Father Jared here. Just wanted to clear up some rumors that I haven't personally gotten any calls, but some of our staff have gotten calls regarding whether or not brides are going to continue to be allowed to be walked up the aisle by their fathers. The answer is, of course, yes. So I'm not real sure where this rumor ever got started or what exactly made it take off, but there has been some confusion about the fact that the church has a series of options for the the procession of the bridal party, the entire wedding party, and that there is the first option that is listed in the rite of matrimony in the book that from which all the prayers for matrimony, the exchange of vows, all that stuff comes from. The first option is that the bride and groom walk down the aisle together. Now, then there's also the allowance of, then the second option is for the allowance of the way that it typically and traditionally in the area takes place, which is the procession of, or which is that the bride is walked down the aisle by her father. So that is permitted by the church. So don't know if the confusion came from the fact that on the liturgy form for weddings, it was updated to include the option for the possibility of bride and groom walking down the aisle together. And there have been couples that have chosen to do that. Why would they do that? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, the reason why the church has it as an option is because marriage is something that the bride and groom freely, wholeheartedly, and without coercion enters into. They freely enter into marriage, and the church sees in a bride and groom walking down together the symbolism of them joining freely, wholeheartedly, walking together into the church, quite literally, for marriage. So they do it together. That's the reason. Now, there's obviously, again, there's great reasons as to why it's fitting for a father to walk his daughter down the aisle. That is a fitting image of the very close relationship that many fathers and daughters have. Now, there's also the case, though, in which there are brides whose father has maybe passed away, or where their relationship with their father is strained, or for whatever reason, so there's theological reason they may choose to do it spiritually, so it's not necessarily an assumption on the father, or they may do it because, well, this is an option for them that doesn't bring up those sort of memories for them, and so it allows them the possibility of not feeling like they have to do it the way that everybody else does as well. So if it's less painful for them to process down the aisle with their future spouse, then that, of course, that is allowed. So I think it's really important for everyone to, again, I don't know if I can say this more off. Don't know if I can say this enough. You are still permitted to be walked down the aisle by your father if you are a bride. Any such rumors are viciously wrong. And that is just false. It is absolutely false that you're not allowed to do that. So if anyone continues to say that, that's not true. I also just want to state that this is rather hurtful, because this is not the first time rumors like this have ran out of control. And it is just unkind to us as priests to assume that would have come out without that being communicated to you first. That is just absolutely ridiculous that decision would be made, and that you wouldn't have received word from someone else, that you would receive word from someone else and not from the priest about this. So this is something that in the future, for a rumor like this, what should have happened is probably should have been a conversation well, I don't think that that's true, and maybe we should ask the priest about it. And because I never got an email, I never got a call about it. Everybody else just started talking about it, and the question was brought up to me separately. None of the other priests ever got a question about it. So if there's a question like this, the question should be directed to us. Not that the staff doesn't know, but the staff wasn't real sure in some cases, because they're wait, I hadn't heard that, or I hadn't heard. And that's because, the father's still allowed to walk his daughter down the aisle, and thus they were never communicated about any change because there was no change taking place. So in these cases, instead of jumping into a rumor mill, let's try and be charitable to us as priests, because we do have your best interest at heart. We do love you, And this is something that we cannot continue to like, that these kind of things are, yeah, that these rumors are hurtful to us, to not only to just us as men, as priests, as your spiritual fathers, but also even just to the image of the church, the parish. So please, 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 in the future, if it's something like this, like, don't be afraid to ask, like, the priest that has your wedding, like, hey, Father, somebody said this, is that true? That would have been good for us to have known, to hear, so that way we could have jumped out in front of it sooner. So with that, know of my deep love, appreciation, and again, I'll reiterate it for one final time. Brides are still allowed to be walked down the aisle by their father. There's just simply the option, there's now simply the including of the options that the church has given us for the procession into the church for wedding liturgies, wedding masses. So that's all. And there have been people that have chosen the option to walk down the aisle with their future spouse. So, and everyone else is free to choose to continue to allow to have their father walk down the aisle as that is fitting, again, for the close relationship that fathers and daughters have. So with that, please, please know my prayers, and please know that we do indeed have your best interests at heart, and know of my prayers for you, and I ask for your prayers for me as well. So God bless you, and I hope this clears up any misunderstandings.